course. So yeah, we'll get started now, guys. Thank you all so very much for joining us this lunchtime. So just to give you, I'm sure I know you all anyway, but I'm Rose from Transition Partners. So I specialise in the testing market. I have done it for about 3.5 years and I absolutely love working with testers. So I work for Transition Partners. We are a digital IT and business change recruitment agency. We run quite a number of these events. So after the event, I am going to share just a bit of a clip on our LinkedIn page and somewhere for you guys to follow us for future events. So today I am joined by the lovely Pavel, who is a test engineer at the STARS Group. And Pavel's going to give us a really good kind of introduction to Cyprus first of all. We're going to see it in live, which was really cool. I had a bit of a taste yesterday. And we're going to finish off with a bit of a Q&A around anything that you guys might want to find out about Cyprus. So we have a Q&A box just below, so if you've got any questions, like I say, we're going to come back to them towards the end of the webinar. But yeah, make sure you pop them in the Q&A. If you've got any comments you want to add, anything that you know about Cyprus that we might not, then yeah, by all means pop that in the chat box and we'll revisit that towards the end. So over to you, Pavel. Thank you.
Cool. I'll move straight into it because I have a special slide where I introduce myself, just to make the deck a bit longer. So I think you should all see my screen right now. Rose, could you confirm? Cool.
Yeah, you can see it. We're good.
Right. So Cyprus, better or just different? Let's move straight into it. So who am I? I am Pavel Nicovala. That's exactly how my name is pronounced, but in UK people call me Pavel, Pav, or Pavel, like I'm some sort of bullfighter. All of them are fine, and it does not bother me. So the guy on the left is not actually me. This is me. The guy on the left, I keep adding him to my presentation. I want to make him famous. Hope to see him in a movie someday.
It's a very close comparison, Pavel. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, we are not exactly twins, but anyway, let's crack on. I have 7+ years experience in tech, but that doesn't matter if you ask me, as you can have 6 months of experience on a good project that is worth more than 10 years of doing nothing. I've been using Cypress for more than a year. I don't consider myself an expert, but I know the framework well enough to introduce it to other people and show what it can do. And professionally speaking, I like to talk about 2 things, testing and agile, especially agile engineering. Non-professionally speaking, I like to talk about beer, motorbikes, and board games, but that's a different talk. If you want to know more about, you can find me on LinkedIn. Also, Rose has done this testing talk series, and I'm part of one of them. Sound is a bit awful due to my microphone, but I would say it was a good and fun talk.
Definitely. I'll share the link as well when I share the videos.
Right. So I have experience with both Selenium and Cypress. I will use time as a comparison to make my point, as engineers are lazy and prefer simple and less time-consuming things. That's engineering in a nutshell, I would say. And also, we all know time is money. So my overall experience with Selenium was like this. Amount of time invested in keeping the framework alive was higher than the amount of time invested in adding new tests and maintaining existing ones. And that was also higher than the amount of time when the test could actually run. Anyway, I was using Selenium to test the Chrome OS application that required a lot of libraries and dependencies just for Selenium. It was complicated. If you have ever used Selenium, you can resonate with this. Moving to Cypress, my overall experience with Cypress was exactly the opposite. Amount of time invested in keeping the framework alive was shorter than the amount of time invested in adding new tests, and also was shorter than the amount of time when the test could actually run. This is how automation should work. If the overall time to automate something it's higher than running the test manually, what's the point of automating? Of course, you can say, Pavel, that's your experience with Selenium. Maybe it does not apply to us. It's not our fault that you're stupid. I'm not expecting you to take my word for it. I'll show you how fast and easy you can get with Cypress when we move to the actual demo, and I'll let you guys to be the judge on that. Right, so Cypress is simple. This is actually from their website. With Selenium, you'll need to install Selenium. You'll need a framework for that thing as well. If you care about your health and sanity in general, you'll probably use a wrapper. I usually go with protractor, and probably add some additional libraries to it. Now with Cypress, it's all-in-one testing framework, assertion library with mocking and stopping, all without Selenium. And that's lies. Or partially true, as you don't need to worry about that. Maybe sales went a bit too far over here. The idea is that you don't need to worry about dependencies that Cypress requires as their team deals with them. After all, Cypress is built on top on Mocha and is using Chai for assertion. Popularity trends. So this data is provided by npm trends. Purpose of this meeting is not to wipe the floor with Selenium, but to present Cypress as an alternative to it. As you can see, there are other options. If you will ask me to pick a framework, it will be Cypress, Puppeteer, or Tycho. Depends on your project and needs. Tycho, it's a very interesting one, even though it's less popular. It is developed by ThoughtWorks, same company that has originally developed Selenium. If you like Selenium, you will definitely like this one. Enough with the talk, time to demo. So what I will do, I'll install the framework, write a simple test, and show it how you can integrate it in CI. And all of that in about 10 minutes. So let me close this. Right. Let's install the framework first. Let me open an editor because I want to show you something interesting when you get to install it. So that's the editor. This is where we are going to install Cypress. You'll need Node 4 at least, but nobody's using Node 4 these days. In order to make.
What's the most up-to-date node, Pavel? Can I ask you?
I think it's 12. Yeah,
12?
I think it's 12.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, oh, never mind. So npm install Cypress. And that should take seconds, not a few seconds, like less than 10 seconds. So after you install it, we should see node modules over here and package lock. Yeah, it got through. There's also a command to check if it's installed correctly. So we have 4.12, that's the latest version. And we are good to go now. So in order to keep going with it, we'll open the console where we can open the test runner as well. So the command for that is npx cypress open. And when you open it for the first time, it takes a bit longer, but it's still a matter of seconds, not hours, minutes. So
just another check for 1 sec, sorry, Pavel. I'm just going to pop a poll question out just to see who's worked with Cypress before and who this is, kind of totally new for. I think it'd be really good to see who's used it and who hasn't. So, yeah, just keep an eye out for that coming through.
Right. So, because this is the first time when we install it, what Cypress does, it detects if you have any existing tests. And if you don't have any existing tests or configs, it will automatically create all this file structure for you. So usually when you add a new framework, most of the time you have to do that manually. And it's a bit of a pain, but Cypress has made that easy for you. So here on the left side, there's the console. Here you select the browser runner where you want to run your tests. And over here you can see your test suites. So these are all created by Cypress team to highlight the features that Cypress can do. And here it's all pure Cypress. It's all Cypress commands without any additional libraries and any plugins. And it's a good reference for patterns and tests and things like that. And what is really cool, they actually run on Cypress documentation. But there's no point to see all of them running. Trust me, they run and take like 1 minute or so. So I'll stop this running. Yeah, and if you want to run them on a different browser, you choose the desired one from here. Most of the time it's Electron, as if you want to run them in CI, you want to run them headlessly, and only Electron runs headlessly. And this one is really cool. It's another feature of it. You can see all your records. It's very handy for test leads or test managers to keep track of your runs. Right. Let's delete all the tests over here and add one of our own. And yeah, you can see the actual code for them over here, which is pretty neat. So let's delete all of them and write one of our own. So what we are going to do, we're going to use Rose's blog to just go over there, click on an article, and check that she's the author or something, check that her name is in there. So in order to write our first test, we'll need to create a new file over here. Let's call it demo. Like I said, it's Cyprus is working on top of Mocha, so it's same syntax. So I need to give it a bit of a context for our suit. Let's see, we'll get to this something later. So let's say given I do something. Okay. Then we'll need to open a function. Right, so here we can add our first eat. This is our first test. So context is the head of our suit. So let's say eat when I do something, then something happens. We'll get to this back later. Yet another function. Okay, and now we are into it. So what we need to do is, first of all, we need to visit Rose's blog. The command for that is ci visit. Oops. Yeah, put that in there. So now we can actually start debugging on the runner itself. So we got the suit over there. I open the runner. And here we are. That's Cyprus visiting Rose's blog. That's a horrible resolution. You can change that, but we'll stick to this one.
As you can tell, I'm absolutely mesmerized by this.
Right. So this is why a good reason why Cyprus is cool. So it's, even though it looks like it's doing the same thing as Selenium, it actually has an entire different architecture. So this is real time. So this is happening real time. What happens? So, Cyprus unbundles your applications and runs your tests side to side, while Selenium just sends commands to the browser, to WebDriver. So having this kind of architecture allows very cool features. So let's say we want to click on the first article. Now we can use the old-fashioned DevTools and get the selector from here. Or you can also use this feature, which it's called Open Selector Playground, but I call it the stupid proof feature. Because what it does, it's make you suggestions on what selector you should use for your test. So let's say we get this one, we copy it, and we add it to our test. We got it, we need to click on it, so we need to specify that as well. Now we press save and see what happens. And got to Rose's landing page, then we clicked on the article, and here we are. We managed to get inside. Now let's actually test something. So I'll use the tools this time. So I'll try to fetch this wrapper, and then I'll check for Rose's name in it. So again, ci.get, put the wrapper in. Now we check that it contains Rose Blackbird. And if Rose name's in there, the test should pass. Hang on, let me open the runner again. I don't know where I put that.
Really interesting to see it in real life, obviously, from a non-technical perspective, to see what you guys kind of get up to, I guess.
Right, so it's very easy to debug. You can see, you can get in every action over here, and you can see every step that you have done. So we went over here, then we revisit this, then we got this element, and we have clicked on it. Then something happened, and then we get over here and check that Rose is over there. So yeah, basically this is our demo test. Now, rule number 1 of automation, always check that your test could fail. So let's put Pavel over there instead of Rose and see if it fails.
I don't know about you on my site, Pavel, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm not there, Rose. You don't really like me, so I'm not there. There you go. The test has failed. So yeah, that's how you write your quick first test. Obviously, this is for the purpose of this demo. You can go with nicer selection on selectors, and this command I usually declare it globally, so I later reuse it. Usually I don't put the straight link in there, but anyway, this was just for the demo. Let's move on CI integration. So we won't need this anymore. So that's the log in the console for what Cypress does in the background. So we'll stop that. What we are going to use, it's my local playground. We're going to use Jenkins. I have a local Jenkins. And in order to save us some time, I pre-configured a Jenkins job using pipeline plugin to run this Cypress, this test. Before this presentation, I had it on a public repository. So it's exactly same code, nothing fishy. I'm not hiding anything from you guys. It's exactly same code that will run in CI. So for Jenkins, I'm running it on a Linux node. So I will need Docker for it to get all the dependencies. If you run it on a Windows node, you don't need this. You can run it straight away. So I got Docker and Node installed, and that's it. And this is a Groovy script, a simple Groovy script. So I get the dependencies that I need. I check out the repo, I do the install, I verify the install, and then I run the test. And that's it. Let's see it going. In the meantime, I'll do the same thing over here. So in order to run them in CI, you need to run them headlessly. So the command for that is npx cypress run. So same thing that will happen in Jenkins over here. Hang on, it's a typo. Same thing that will happen in terminal over here will happen in Jenkins as well. So let's kick the build. We compare them at the end. As you can see, it has started. We can use the classical Jenkins console to see what's happening. But again, because I care about my life, I usually use this. It's much more easier to read and understand what's happening. It's a plugin that basically beautifies the Jenkins interface. So what we are doing, if it's starting at some point.
Can this work with anything other than Jenkins as well, Pavel?
Yes, they support pretty much any human known CI tool out there.
Cool.
It works very well with Circle CI. So if you get your hands on that, you see it going. Yeah, so we checked out the repo. There's a lot for that. We've done the install. Now we are checking the install. And then we'll get to run the actual tests. Okay, I'll put this in parallel. Oh, locally just finished, so we should see the same thing that we see over here.
Seems quite quick to do so, to kind of run that.
Yeah, that's the whole idea about it. It's it's quick and simple. So actually over here is not Cypress the one that is being slow. It's actually Jenkins that's the one that's been running slow.
Right. Maybe that's the next forum. Is Jenkins really that good? Something.
No, it's not. It's not. Actually, it's not. And Jenkins is actually an automation server, but it's just happened to be the most popular CI out there. You can use Jenkins for a lot of things, including Internet of Things, and pretty much just automate everything. So yeah, this is how it looks. That's how it runs in CI. That's simple. You can find everything that you need to know about Cypress on their official website, which is cypress.io. How to install it, how to get around with it. The documentation, it's in one place. You don't need to go anywhere else. Everything that you need, it's over here. Community is also pretty active. So if you bump yourself into problems, there will probably be some people in there that could help. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now to summarize the whole meetup and answer the question in the title, is it better or different? For my case, it's both. It's also better and different compared to Selenium. Now it depends on what you're going to use it. As we've seen on that trends graph, Selenium, it's still a titan and will still be around for some time. Now the good thing is not the only one. So the only titan out there. So there's also Cypress, there's also Puppeteer. Don't get me wrong, Selenium is still a good tool. There are a lot of things that Cypress cannot do and Selenium can do, and there are also a lot of things that Cypress can do and Selenium won't do. But to me, Selenium, it's like a sledgehammer. It's the universal tool that you can use it for everything. And maybe you don't want a sledgehammer to use to fix your wristwatch, for example. So I'm sure a skilled clockwork can fix it with a sledgehammer. That maybe you need precision tools. So yeah, in order to be clear about it, depends on what you're going to use it. There are a lot of pros and cons about it. And I didn't include a slide for pros and cons because these are subjective and situational. So for example, Cypress, it's only JavaScript. Some people find that as a disadvantage. I find it as an advantage. So and this is just the very tip of the iceberg. You can do a lot of things that we don't have time to cover them right now. And there are a lot of plugins and libraries that you can integrate Cypress with. So yeah.
Lovely. So we've had some questions come through. If you're all right to help us out with these, Pavel.
Yep.
So first things first, does Cypress support XPath? And if yes, what is the command and syntax to use XPath rather than CSS selected?
Yeah, I think it does support the XPath. I'm not entirely sure. I don't use that. I usually don't stick to XPath. That makes your tests flaky. But I'm sure we can Google that. I'm not entirely sure. I think yeah, it definitely supports it. It's selector-based automation. I think every selector-based automation tool supports XPath.
That's absolutely fine. We can always, like I say, we can always find out as well if that's a definite. But yeah, so Manjeet's asked, and so he says he has a problem. So how do I do in Cypress, which you could do in Protractor? So that's IS element exist, IS clickable, basically conditional testing using Cypress.
I don't know if it's using. I don't know. It's not using the same syntax. So you can do conditional testing in Cypress, but sometimes you really don't need to. So Cypress, what does its default timeout for every command in Cypress is 4 seconds. So basically, every time when you're looking for an element, it automatically checks for 4 seconds to be there. If it's not present, then the test will fail. Now we can also change the timeout to be a bit longer or shorter or whatever you want. And also there's a command to check that the element specifically exists. So yeah, you can do that.
Perfect. Lovely. So, okay, so someone's also asked that they said to me that they read some time ago that Cypress doesn't support Windows handles, so multiple windows and tabs. Is that still the case? And are there any plans to implement the functionality?
No, unfortunately, it does not support multiple tabs. So that's a disadvantage. There are workarounds, like you can catch in the console that when you have click on a link that was supposed to open in a different tab, you can catch that in the console that, look, something happened outside, and you can, but it's not the real deal. There are other cases that are not supported in Cypress and they are supported in Selenium. So one of them that I stumbled upon it's mouse hovering, but there are workarounds around them. So unless you specifically want to hover over the thing and see that something popping up, then yeah, you can't do that. But you can, there are workarounds to interact with whatever is hovering over there. So yeah, that's, I would say that's the answer for it.
Oh, it's interesting to hear that, it does have, whilst most of this has been positive, it does have its setbacks as well, which is interesting. Cool. So Civigeek asked, what are the browsers that it supports?
They keep adding browsers to it. So at the moment, so it's they started with Chrome. They added Firefox, which is still in beta, I believe. They also added Edge. And there's obviously Electron, which is a browser for development purposes. And I think they have added another one. I've seen it these days. I subscribe to their newsletter, but I'm not reading it all the time. So, yeah, these are the browsers that they support. But when you run it headlessly, it's going to be Electron. So when you run it in CI, it's going to be Electron. I don't see this thing as a real challenge. Some people see it. If you should test with Cypress, you should test functionality. So basically, you'll need to test it on different browsers. If your code is different for each browser, then yeah, your behavior should be different. But we can run this test in every browser that supports and it will pass. And it's depends how you're using it. But yeah, it does support browsers, common browsers, and they keep adding new browsers to it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know there was any other browsers other than Internet Explorer and Chrome.
No, Internet Explorer is. Oh, I didn't know there are other browsers in there. They support Edge.
I have no idea.
Support Edge. They do not support Internet Explorer, unfortunately, and Safari, but they support Edge.
Fantastic. So, also, how can you do cross-browser testing in Cypress? I don't know if you've kind of just touched on that a little bit there, but
yeah, I'll show you. So let me share my screen again. We'll reopen the console again, and we'll see the same test running in all the browsers that I've got installed. So I've got installed Chrome and Firefox and Electron. So yeah, let's give it another second. Cool.
Whereabouts on the screen is this then, Pavel?
Can you see it now? We should see the console right now.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Right, so here, this is where you select the browser that you want to run. So let's run it on Chrome, for example. And there you go. It's running on Chrome.
So it operates exactly the same then?
Yeah, it's exactly the same test. It will be the exactly same outcome. You can add multiple versions to it if you want. So if you want to run in different Chrome versions and things like that. Like I said, Firefox is still in beta. But usually when you're debugging and writing your tests, you'll stick to hang on. You'll stick to Electron usually when. Oh, there you go. It's not running. Right. I probably won't be able to fix it straight away. I think it might be a problem with my Firefox browser.
Yeah, that's why we love a live demo, Pavel. It shows some of the downfalls as well.
Oh no, there you go. I fixed it.
Yay!
It automatically fixed itself. But anyway, there you go. But I can see it's slower. It's slower than running it on Electron.
Fab. Andrew's also asked Pavel, just if we go back to the Jenkins plugin, what was the plugin that he used for the UI?
Cypress, it's using this virtual buffer called XVBF or something. You can get around that manually yourself if you want. and there are probably other dependencies that you need to get around, or you can just simply use their Docker image that contains all the dependencies.
Okay.
So they update them frequently, and there are lots of versions of Docker images that can fit your needs. Sometimes the latest versions are a bit flaky, so you should stick to what's stable.
Okay, fantastic. Cool. And someone's also asked, so regarding API and mobile testing, can Cypress be used for API testing first of all, and then for mobile testing?
For mobile testing, as far as I'm aware, no. So you can't integrate it with Appium if you want. Basically, it runs whatever runs in the browser. So you need this runner to run on your mobile device in order to get it running. But you can use it for API testing.
Okay.
So it supports a lot of mocking and stubbing. So basically everything that you can see here, you can listen for events, you can stop events if you want. So in some cases you don't need a backend. You will force them through server to listen events through Cypress servers commands and things like that. So yeah, it does that.
Okay, perfect. So Mohammed also asked, so people believe that Cypress is an end-to-end testing tool. So what would be your comment on that? You know, how would you say that it is an end-to-end testing tool? Can you elaborate?
It's used for front end and end to end. Obviously, if you don't have a back end, there's not much you can do with it. So like I said, you can easily mock the server response, and you can also mock through your backend and test your application end to end. The way I'm using it at my job, it's end to end. So at the very back end of our application, which is very impressive and very interesting and very nice architecture, we have some Kotlin servers, and I feed messages, I insert messages into these Kotlin services, and then I cache them all the way in front end, and they all run in, they all tested with Cypress. So yeah, you can do that. Cypress supports that. It's not only for front end.
And can you implement, so Larry's asked as well, can you implement page object model with Cypress?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Tricky one, is it?
The short answer is yes, you can, but we'll probably need to elaborate on that. I mean,
that one might be one that we'll do you an IOU on a full solution for that. Okay, cool. And then he also asked, so another concern is around Cypress is that although it's an open source tool, it's still privately owned, and can still be licensed in the future if it gets very popular. What do you think? Do you think it's going to get?
Yeah, but that applies for every tech stack out there. I mean, seriously, it's Angular. It's owned by Google. If someday you decide to build a Google using their own framework, obviously they will pull off your license. If React is built by Facebook, if someday you decide to build a new Facebook using their framework, they are going to pull off your license. So, but we tend to, the good stuff, it's open, it's free, so you don't have to pay for it. So what do you pay for? So there you go, the runner, free and open source. The dashboard service, you have to pay for it. And even if with the free version, you still get 500 recordings and things like that. You really need this. You need the Forest package for a really big company, seriously. You need multiple teams to pay that much for it.
Okay. Cool. So I'm just aware of the time, so we'll try and just ask a couple more questions. If there is any that we've missed, I will make sure that we kind of come back to you all separately. So first one is from James. So James Miles has asked, can this integrate with VirtualBox or similar? So via VBox manage commands?
What do you mean by that? I mean, to run Cypress on the actual VirtualBox, or you want to feed messages? Depends how you define integration. It can run on a VirtualBox if you want, but not the same way as you think about Selenium. So not like you're going to feed commands outside of it and expect them to run in VirtualBox. I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And then also, Priya Dashan has asked, is it possible to assert capture image and barcodes in Cypress?
That's another good one. With pure Cypress, no. With pure Cypress, I don't think you can do that. But there are libraries that can help you achieve that. So there are a lot of libraries that can make your life easier. One that I stumble upon these days, it's they have an integration with Moment.js. It's very useful for testing timestamps. So if you want to test timestamps without that library, you usually need like a pattern that is like 4 or 5 lines of code. With Moment.js, it's just 1 line of code, and you test the timestamp. So yeah, you should be able to do that. I don't know exactly how, but you should be able to do that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. And then there's actually a really good addition here from Govind. So Ionic Framework is a free open source framework for developing native mobile applications using web development frameworks like Angular, React, and coming soon Vue. Mobile applications developed in Ionic Framework can run in a browser during development. Because of this, we can use Cypress to perform tests on the functionality of mobile applications before they are built for a native device. So that's
a good point. Thank you for covering me on that. I did not know that because I'm not using Cypress for that. I'm using it for commercial websites. Yeah, actually, it's a commercial website, but it's an internal use tool, so we don't worry about devices. But
it's interesting.
That's a good addition. That probably somebody has thought about that scenario. So
yeah, definitely. I'll share that with everybody afterwards as well, in case that's something that you'd like to look into. Okay. I think, to be honest, I think we've pretty much covered everything, but there's a few more questions. So Sivadeep, does it support parallel threads as well?
Yeah, you can, but you need a good CI for that. So with Circle CI, I think Circle CI knows to do that by default. So it does that, yeah. They mention it somewhere in their website. I don't know exactly where. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, there's a forum as well. I think you mentioned, isn't there, where you can kind of run some questions and share some things within Cypress. Is that right?
Say that again. Sorry.
There was a forum kind of similar.
Oh yeah. So if you go to support and go to community and Stack Overflow and whatever you want, they are there.
Fab, lovely. Okay, cool. Last question. I promise this is the last one. You're all questioned out. Can you run tests simultaneously in multiple browsers? I don't know if we briefly touched on that with the tabs question, but so IE Chrome, Firefox, and IE at the same time. Is that what we went through?
So with one runner, with the one console, you can't, as far as I know, you can't. But you can open multiple runners if you want. And
you can run them separately at the same time.
But why would you want to do that? Anyway.
Well, you never know. All right, thank you. Well, I think we've all had a really good kind of view of, kind of what Cypress IO can be used for. So I'm going to finish with one question that, we were kind of aiming to kind of look at for this particular webinar. So Cypress IO, do you think it's better than Selenium or just different? What do you think, Pavel?
Like I said before, it depends what we are going to use it for. So it's for my case, it's better and different. Yeah. But there are cases where Selenium could be better. Yeah. Like I said, if your project doesn't have a front end, there's not much you can do with it.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear though that there's a lot of, it's worth looking into. Obviously, there's a lot of really good benefits to Cypress as a tool. So, I know we spoke about how it's very robust. It works, it's very quick, and it's a very good tool to be used alongside JavaScript specifically. Is there anything to add?
Well, yeah, like you said, JavaScript earlier. So basically, if you're starting on a greenfield project that it's heavy JavaScript, let's say your front end it's React and your backend is Node, and you have an entire team of engineers that their skill is heavily around JavaScript, you will be mad to not go with something that is JavaScript. So if you're not going with Cypress or puppeteer and you're using Selenium just because some random Jeff used it 10 years ago. Anyway, it's your choice.
Yeah. I think it's good to know, though. I mean, you know, for those of you who are job seeking at the moment, a lot of kind of job applications specify that you need Selenium, and in 3.5 years, you know, all I've ever seen is that you need Selenium experience. So I think it's good to see like Cyprus being more and more prevalent in organisations, and it's something new, I guess, you know, which obviously has its benefits for your projects, which is cool. Fantastic.
Okay.
Lovely.
We have somebody raised a hand.
Yep. Oh, I think she's gone. It's missing.
Oh, okay.
We can follow up with it afterwards, guys. Sorry. What I'll do, I'll send out the I'll send out my email for whoever just raised their hand then, and we can obviously follow up afterwards. But yeah, thank you so much for coming along, and yeah, for joining us. Really appreciate all your contributions. I'll try and put together as much information that we've kind of gained from this, you know, like I said, in the comments box. But yeah, thank you so much, Pavel. It was really interesting to see how Cyprus works, and yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely day, guys. Bye.
Bye.